Well, let the games begin. Let the tournament begin. It is Kentucky Derby time. Today is Tuesday. It is the 11th of April. We're about 4 weeks out from, that's right, game day, the Kentucky Derby. My name is Wayne Bolden. I'm your Speed King, of course. We're going to take a look at the top 16 or 17 horses that have clinched a spot by points in the Kentucky Derby, and who's on the bubble and full of trouble, right? If you're on the bubble, you are full of trouble. So I thought it would be a great time to have a discussion of the 16 or 17 horses that we know could make the gate, providing nothing happened on points alone. That should give us a great look into who are the probable starters of this race, okay? In the Kentucky Derby, the first Saturday of May. So I'm going to go through them. But I want to make a note before we get going. Here is a fact that we all must consider as bettors. And you can't get around this. There are 2 trainers in the race that have 3 horses that are very, very good. Todd Pletcher, with his plethora of horses, has 3, and Brad Cox has 3. That's 6. That makes it almost a third of the field, which means this: forget the X's and O's. The probability that Todd Pletcher or Brad Cox win the Derby are very high, just on numbers alone. We call that win probability. Mr. Pletcher has Forte, our favorite in this year's Derby, who I so eloquently threw out. O-U-T, out. And he has Tappet Trice. And he has Kings Barnes with Flavian Pratt. That's 3. Now, obviously, these horses are very high in points. And you don't get the points because you're a scrub. Those are good horses. Mr. Brad Cox and all his band of merry horses, his big head horses, has Angel of Empire, Verifying, and Hit Show. So, let's just slow down a minute. Okay, forget the X's and the O's. The fact of the matter, and I said it once, I'll say it again, 20% of the trainers in America win all the races. And it's no different here. The probability that Pletcher or Cox wins this year's Derby is high. Forget the horse and the running lines, because you didn't get to where they are because they're scrubs. The fact of the matter is that 2 trainers have 6 of the 20 entries, which is darn near a third of the races. So the probability of them winning the race is very high. That's where you start your handicapping. Okay? That's just the facts. Okay? Of the matter. From a win standpoint, from a win probability standpoint, that 6 horses are governed by 2 trainers. So that means for every one you pick that they're not one of theirs, you got to beat 6 of them. The chances are that won't happen. So it's a very, very high probability that Pletcher or Brad Cox has the upper hand as they circle the wagons in this year's Derby, just on numbers. So don't forget that. Let's not get sucked into the game. Let's take a step back from a 10,000 foot view and be logical. They have 6 of the 20 entry. And by the way, of the 20 entries, we could probably name 5 of them that shouldn't be in there. So yeah, it's very high that one of those 2 trainers will win this year's Derby. Even though I threw Forte out. Let's look at the top 16 or 17 that are in the gate currently with the points that they have. Now, if something happened, they don't get in. And let's look at those who are on the bubble that's full of trouble to round up the 20. So, right away, obviously, the leading contender is Forte. Well, again, it's Todd Pletcher. You have the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner here. You have the Fountain of Youth winner, and you have the Florida Derby winner in Forte. Obviously leading the band with 190 points. Rightly so. The favorite, I don't particularly like him. I'm throwing him off the ticket. I'm not doing my analysis now. But obviously this horse is going to make the gate. Practical Move, who could be your Derby winner. No, he did not, just said it. Practical Move is a very, very nice horse by Practical Joe, trained, I think it's by Sadler. I have to look it up. But I know Chad Brown, a naughty horse, obviously is the breeder of this horse, and part of it is our second leading and a big threat to Forte. Obviously winning the Santa Anita Derby last weekend, has 160 points. And then you have the third horse points wise, an Angel of Empire, and of course that is Brad Cox, his band of merry horses. Tappet Trice, who is Todd Pletcher, of course. So the first four horses, two of them is Pletcher, one is Cox. Those are your first leading contenders. So you understand my first statement. Don't take a step back, take a deep breath, and realize that six of the horses are from two of the top outfits, and the probability is that one of them is going to win. Our fourth horse, right? Our fourth horse is Tapper Twice. Obviously, Todd Pletcher. Two Fields is carrying 100. It has 123 points. Lord Miles, okay, he's coming in after winning the Wood Memorial. That's very, very nice. I mean, Lord Miles, trained by Safi Joseph, has 100. And he will make the gate. And our sixth horse is Lord Miles, and then you have the Japan horse. Pay attention to the Japanese horses, okay? One that I like, we'll get to him soon, but Damara Satoke, okay? Damara Satoke. I know a lot of people like this horse, has 100 points. And here we are back with another Pletcher in our 8th spot for points, King Barnes, with Flavian Pradham, who's a very speedy horse. So your first 8 horses, 3 of them Todd Pletcher has. They don't have these points because they're scrubs. So you understand my statement, okay? When you get away from the lure and the excitement of the race, that 6 of the horses in here are by 2 of the top outfits in the country, and the probability is that Pletcher or Cox will win it, okay? And in the 8th spot is King Barnes, trained by Pletcher. Raise Cane. Well, Raise Cane ran 5th in the Bluegrass stake race behind Tappet Twice. Now, what's the chances on him reversing that on Tappet Twice? But he has enough points to get in the gate. And then you have Rocket Ken. Well, it's Billy Mott. Don't ever put anything by Billy Mott. Obviously, this horse is trained by Billy Mott and has enough points to get to the gate and will be in the gate with 64. And then you have Hit Show. Again, here is another Brad Cox runner, Hit Show. Okay? 8, 10, 12. So of the top 10, you got 2 Pletchers and 2 Brad Cox. So if you look at it from a point standpoint, the top 10 horses with the top 10 points, 4 of them is Cox and Pletcher. So their win probability, folks, is very, very high. Not that I'm going to bet one of them, but we need to really look at it from a really logical standpoint, okay? Because this game is always about probabilities. So Hit Show has 60 points, and he was second in the Wood Memorial. He was in the 13 hole. Probably a good race for him, okay? Probably was wide. Probably is going to get a decent trip, okay? But the top 10 horses with the top 10 points, Pletcher has 2, and Cox has 2. which is darn near 50% of the top 10 horses with the top points. The next horse on the list, which is number 12, is Confident Game. That's DeSormo and DeSormo, right? With 57 points. And here we are again with Verifying, which is a Brad Cox horse in spot number 13. Okay? And then you have Wild Ice with 50 points, and then Sun Thunder with 54 points, who ran 4th in the Bluegrass. Verifying ran 2nd in the Bluegrass, number 13. And then you have that horse that comes out of the race with Forte in the Fountain of Youth. And I mean, not in the Fountain of Youth, in the Florida Derby, Mage, who made that beautiful 3/4 move with Louis Saez, who can make the gate with 50 points. And then we have the Japan horse, who kind of snuck in because one of the other Japan horses is not coming, Continual, who I kind of like. I've always liked Continual. So there is your top 17 horses, point-wise, currently on the 11th of April, that would make the gate if the race was today. Okay? And of those 17, Brad Cox and Todd Pletcher has 6 of those 17. Now, where are the bubble horses? Well, Blazing 7, who ran 3rd in the Bluegrass, Chad Brown, has 46 and is clearly on the bubble. Okay, you have Reincarnate. I think that's a Yak Team horse by way of Bob Baffert, has 45. He's 18. 19 is Jace's Road, who I have a little weakness for at 45 points. Skinner, okay, who ran a decent race the other day, who was 3rd in the Santa Anita Derby, obviously behind Practical Move, has 45 points. And then you have Cyclone Mischief with 45. So those are the 5 horses that could round out the 20. Okay? We know the top 17. And then the bubble horses, Blazing 7, Reincarnate, Jake's Road, and Skinner, and Cyclone Mischief. Okay? So what are we saying here? Let's have a healthy discussion about the top 16 or 17 horses that currently have the points. And if the race was today, these horses would be in. Okay, let's look at that, and then let's look at the other 3 or 4 or 5 horses that are on the bubble, like Blazing 7, Reincarnate, Jace's Road, Skinner, and Cyclone Mischief, who are all up against it anyway. So, as of now, those are the horses that are in, as according to April 11th, right? And the takeaway here is, let's not get sucked in, okay, to the lure of the Derby. The fact of the matter is, the top 10 horses with the top 10 points, 4 horses are trained by Todd Pletcher or Brad Cox, and their win probability is high. Not that I'm going to bet either one of them, but we need to at least understand that they have 6 of the 20 horses going to the gate. And maybe 5 of those 20 shouldn't even be in the race, and we'll do a video on the top 10 to throw out. For sure. So you have Forte, Practical Move, Angel of Emperor, Tap It Twice, Two Fields, Lord Miles, Derma, King Barnes, Ray's Kane, my boy Billy Mott with Rocket Can. Don't ever put anything by Billy. You got Hit Show, Brad Cox and his big head horses. Confident Game, which is DeSormo. Verifying, again, Brad Cox. Sun Thunder, Wild Ice, Madge, who made that beautiful move. And of course, Continual, who's the Japan runner, who I like. So let's have a healthy discussion of the top 17 that have the points to get into the Derby this year, right now. And what do you think of the fact that a third of the entries, if they all make the gate, is governed by 2 trainers, and their probability to win the Derby is very high. Not that we're going to bet any of them, but we need to understand that Pletcher has 3, Cox have 3, that's 6 of 20. That's huge. Let's have a healthy discussion as we close close in on the tournament for sure. I love doing this. I love having a great discussion. Classy. I know you'll keep it for sure.